Okay, greetings. Hello, how are you? Utah Hockey Club. Oh my gosh, what a performance, huh? Boy, oh boy. Way to come up small, huh? Both teams needed this game badly. Badly. But Detroit's group. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Hello,
I
how
think
are
I have.
you? Utah Hockey Club. Oh my. All right, couple problems there, but we've got them fixed. Sorry about that. Apologize for some of the technical difficulties this evening. Hey, so one of the things that I wanted to do tonight was just talk quickly about, the stakes, of course, was this is, again, one of the biggest games of the season for Utah Hockey Club. They really, really, really needed this one. Everybody else who's in the wild card hunt right now just can't lose. Vancouver pulls out a shootout win against the New Jersey Devils tonight after being down for most of the game. Calgary's winning. St. Louis is winning. Utah is they're dropping games. They're actually playing some of their best hockey in terms of form, in terms of streaks and all that stuff, and yet here they are. I mean, you can't drop any games down the stretch here. This one hurts. This one is not very fun at all to watch. Ugly game. Not very many shots by either team. If this is your first time here, welcome. We welcome you. Hopefully you'll enjoy your time here hanging out with us after the buzzer on Hive State Hockey. My hair's a little crazy because I've been pulling it out throughout that game. That was a frustrating game to go on. My name is Keith Schertz. I welcome you here. Hopefully you'll enjoy your stay. If you're like my friend Scotty, hanging out in the chat, then we welcome you back. We congratulate you on your exceedingly fine taste. Okay, so here is where we're at. That was such a stupid game. That was such an incredibly stupid game. Like, it's blowing my mind how stupid of a game that was. As I just think about all of the nonsense that happened in that game, the way that Detroit scored all the bullcrap goals that the Detroit Red Wings enjoyed, what a disaster! What a disaster! To me, that effectively, I mean, look, I know that technically they're not out. The top possible points for Utah Hockey Club with 11 games left, they can still get to 85 points, I believe. No. Sorry. I'm way off on that. Let me pull up my sheet. A 97. They can get up to 97 points. My projections for the rest of the year get them to 85 points. 85 is a tough spot to get. That's probably where they're gonna end up based on how things are. That's not gonna be enough. St. Louis is at 81 points right now, with 10 games remaining. So, and unless St. Louis goes incredibly cold, unless they go 1-9 down the stretch, or 2-8 down the stretch, in a lot of ways that'll do her. Utah needed to keep pace tonight against the Detroit Red Wings. One of those teams was basically eliminating the other from playoff contention tonight. It became an effort game. It became an ugly game. It became a game of puck luck. And tonight, the Detroit Red Wings, they found a way to win with only 14 shots on goal. Karel Vejmelka tonight, I don't know. The last goal was well executed. Obviously, he had all those people bearing down on him. What could you do about it? But that's a good goal by Detroit. The deflection goal was such a bullcrap goal. That goal was so stupid. How about that for analysis? Really, just an incredibly stupid hockey game. It just made me angry. They kept talking during the broadcast here locally, on the Utah broadcast about how, there was no shots being generated by Detroit, but there really wasn't enough shots being generated by Utah either. I don't know what the deal was with that game. Utah only gets 18 shots on goal this game. Detroit gets 14, and that gets us to our trivia question. I got curious, so I looked up in the database, and I tried to figure out when are the occasions where a team has had at least only 14 shots on goal or less for an entire hockey game and scored 5 goals. The answer is actually this is the 20th time in history that's happened. And so for all NHL games where they've got this noted, shots have been available since 1959 through the 1959-1960 season. So from 1959 to now, that's where that's the history of this stat. There have been 20 occasions where there have been 14 shots on goal with 5 goals scored. The most recent occurrence of this was actually 2 nights ago when the New York Rangers were able to beat the Vancouver Canucks by scoring 5 goals on 12 shots. So there's that. Tampa Bay did this at Carolina. They actually scored 8 goals on 14 shots back in 2023. And then there's a whole list of the other 18 occurrences of that. But 8 goals is the most ever scored by a team that only got 14 shots on goal. Turns out, though, that if you score 5 times or more with only 14 shots on goal or less, those teams are now 20-0 in those circumstances. So that's the answer to the trivia question I threw in the chat. The answer is 20. Scotty, not having Ingram doesn't help, as you have to run with Veggie to get wins. Let's talk about that. I wish I had time to put together a full graphic, but I'll do it for the next after the buzzer on Thursday. Veggie didn't become a consistent starter until November of this season. It was Ingram who started the season as the starting goaltender for the Utah Hockey Club. Goals saved above expected, right? This is the metric. Goals saved above expected. It's the top metric that I like to look at when you look at how well a goalkeeper is playing and what they're doing to try to help you win games. In November, Veggie saved 9.69 more goals than what was expected to be scored against Utah. His goals saved above expected was the second highest in the entire NHL during the month of November, only behind Connor Hellebuck. In December, 6.04 goals saved above expected. That is 6th out of the 25 players who qualify for this stat for the month of December. In January, his number dips. Again, he's become a workhorse by this point. We're not seeing as much Ingram. Ingram's hurt for part of this month. Now Veggie's playing a ton, but he's still a 0.9 goals saved above expected. That's 26th out of 32. The Four Nations face-off occurs. There's a week or maybe 2 weeks off for Utah Hockey Club. They come back. He is rested again. 3.49 goals saved above expected. That's 6 out of the 32 goalies who qualify. And in March, he has fallen off a cliff. He has minus 3.53 goals saved above expected. So it finally turned the corner. He's giving up more goals than that's kind of a metrics that's showing you are they stopping goals maybe that should be scored, and are we being leaky? Are we letting in goals that we shouldn't allow in? In the month of March, Karel Vejmelka is minus 3.53 goals saved above expected. That is 28th out of the 32 goalies who qualify for that stat in the National Hockey League. So, Karel Vejmelka plays really well when he's fresh. He was second in the NHL as a workhorse goalie in November, but he had Ingram to balance it out. In December, he had Ingram to balance it out. He was sixth in the NHL. No Ingram, he drops down to 26th in the NHL. In February, Ingram's back. He's sixth in the NHL, plus a little bit of rest coming by way of the Four Nations face-off. And then in March, no Ingram, and we have gone timber. His play has dipped. And, look, some of the goals, we're making excuses for him several times throughout this where we're saying, hey, look, Veggie, I don't know that you would necessarily blame him. They're giving breakaway opportunities. So there they go. Scotty, yeah, I think Scott, as I take a look at it, it's like they should put Stauber in against Chicago in the next 3 games. Yeah, I don't think they'll put him in for one of the Florida games. So you're going to play him on the back-to-back. Whew! He's already played 14 straight. They tried to talk about it in the broadcast as he's a warrior, he's this workhorse, and that there hasn't been any drop in his play, but clearly there's been a drop in his play as I just covered and outlined there. There's a reality to it when you're an athletic and physical goalie the way that Veggie is. There just comes a certain point where the workload becomes too much. And getting hit with pucks like that too frequently, that becomes a difficult thing to manage. So this is something that has been a topic of After the Buzzer here on Ohio State Hockey several times over the last 10 games or so. We've talked about, they really work in Veggie. They need to give Jackson Stauber some games. I know that that's a scary position to put yourself in, but at the same time, I think it's an important thing to do. They just have to trust that Stauber can do enough to give them a chance in a couple of these games. So there's that. I think it's an important thing for us to kind of consider and take a look at as we ponder for a moment the effectiveness of Karel Vejmelka late in the season, as he doesn't have he doesn't have a relief pitcher in there, and he's pitched too many innings. If you want to use baseball, he's had all of that to deal with. So been a difficult stretch for Veggie, and I think it doesn't necessarily say much about Veggie in terms of the quality of player he is or anything like that. I just think that it just speaks to having a second goalie that you feel like can go. And Ingram was that. Now, Ingram didn't have the best performances. He had a bunch of stuff going on off the ice, and we're sensitive to all that, just like everyone else. But at the same time, they need to anyway. It's one of those. They really needed to look at maybe the trade deadline to bolster that if they were serious about making the playoffs, or again, maybe we're back to they're just getting exactly what they wanted, which was to make a run at the playoffs this year, have a bunch of cap space to play with in this offseason, another lottery pick in the NHL draft. Maybe you add, Danielle Boot, and Dmitry Shimashev to the team, and maybe Maverick Lamoureux gets more chances to play on the blue line, and maybe you see what happens as it relates to all that. Obviously, T.J. Ginla, he had his injury. He's far away from being ready. Cole Beaudoin is not going to be on this team next year. So I think that's kind of where they're at as it relates to the future. And maybe they got exactly what they wanted, but at the same time, if they were really going to make the run at this, you can't expect Vejmelka to play that many games in a row and play well. And by the way, this is true as I got looking at the numbers. Just any of the workhorse goalies right now who are playing tons of minutes, they're all having a hard time dealing with that unless their name is Connor Hellebuck, um, or if their name is um, Shesterkin. So those are the two goalies that are managing the incredible workloads that they're under right now, and neither of them are even playing as much as Vejmelka is right now. So um, difficult challenge for him to deal with. Okay. Okay. So that's kind of the main thing that I wanted to take a look at as it related to Veggie, and I think it answered some of those things. Dylan Guenther gets to his 100th point in 137 games in his career. So that's a pretty excellent start. I wanted to just read out a few of the noteworthy names that are right on the same track as our boy Dylan Guenther. So that's like, it's interesting. You can feel differently, but like Tyler Johnson, Trevor Zegras, Ryan Nugent Hopkins, Mark Stone. So yeah. So Adam Fox on the blue line, what a point producer, right? What a player. Rod Brindamore. So that's an old school one. So if you take a look at Matt Sundin, John Tavares, so we continue to see that in terms of the production that's coming out of this player early in his career, the sort of names that he is putting himself on the list with, those are exciting things to kind of take a look at and see. Now, you hope that they have a lot bigger career, longer career, where you're totally fearful of him than say like Tyler Johnson. But at the same time, if he brings home cups for Utah the way Tyler Johnson did for the Tampa Bay Lightning, I get you live with all that, no question about it. No question about that at all. So yeah, so those are a few of the names that I saw on there. Obviously, there are a lot of players who've done this, but he becomes the 308th player in NHL history to get to 100 points in their first 137 games, at least 100 points. So that is kind of what we're looking at for that. Good question, Scott, on Matt Velada. I think he's doing he's not blowing the doors off in Tucson. I can take a look at that, but having monitored a little bit about what's going on in the AHL with the Tucson Roadrunners, as I've looked at a few of the stats, like nobody down there is putting up stats that are blowing you away. Let me pull that up. That's a great question. Hendrik Lundqvist was a workhorse in New York. Rare these days to have a guy play so much. Beyond that, like the style of the game, right? It's just the puck goes left, right. It just requires a whole lot more of a goaltender now from a physical standpoint, just because there's a greater emphasis on driving the lateral movement from a goalie than there ever has been, right? There was kind of the idea of especially in like the 90s, it's like send the slap shot, get it on net. It's attrition. If he gets bruised up over time, he's not going to want to stop the puck anymore. So let's see if we can ding up that goalie and mess with them in those ways. It was just about pucks to the net as much as you can. Now you don't see as much driving to the net, and that's one of those things that sometimes I wish there was more going to the net in today's hockey style than you see. Let's take a look real quick. I'm gonna pull up Tucson real quick. I know. Well, Stauber, I think had been playing as their number one. So the question of whether it should be Stauber versus Matt Velada, or no, is Velada, is he the one at UMass? My brain is you broke my brain for a second here, Scott. Help me out on that one. Fan zone. Community. Dear Tucson Roadrunners, your website does not make it easy to find statistics. Or maybe it's because I'm live and there's pressure to find it quickly. But anyway, yeah, I don't know that they have great options. That's kind of the main thing right now. Is they just are not in a position to. You don't love playing Jackson Stauber. I get it that in his like 3 games that he's played, he hasn't been very good. He wasn't very, but like. First of all, you played. He played really well against the Golden Knights. He's had 2 outings against Edmonton. Well, everyone looks crappy against Edmonton, right? And then, I think I gotta look it up at on the AHL website. Maybe. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, we're out there now, and we're taking a look at that as it relates to the goalies. Let's get down to the goalies. No, Matt Valletta. There he is. Yeah, he's been down there. He's got a little bit better save percentage. He's at 90.4 save percentage. He's 3.08 goals against average. 16 and 21 with 3 overtime losses and 1 loss in the shutout. In the shootout. So I don't know. The other player, right, that was that I saw when I looked at it when I was thinking about the AHL, was it Habig? Anyway, there was a player that it seemed like could potentially be a player that they could use in a spot as like a 4th liner and take a swing at. Oh, it was Agostino. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see what it is. I just looked it up. Yeah, the one upside, I guess, of not making the playoffs is that they can begin renovations earlier at the Delta Center. Well, the Jazz as well, my friend, and they're definitely not going to be making the playoffs either. So, yeah, the seasons are going to be over relatively soon. And you're right. They can start doing what they need to do in May because the Delta Center season will change. The bigger question to me is what are they doing about, I wonder what contracts they have in terms of, concerts and things like that. That whole thing of renovating the Delta Center instead of just building a new arena and not moving out of downtown and having the legislature kind of get after Ryan Smith about that whole thing, it creates some friction, some problems for the Utah Hockey Club, for Smith Entertainment Group to try to figure out what it is they'd like to do in terms of the renovations and how do you do the renovations so that the arena is still usable because they've got to play next season. And so, yeah, what a challenge. Seems like a pain in the butt to deal with. 100%. So congratulations, Dylan Gunther, 100 career points. To our buddy Karel Vejmelka, I hope that you get a chance to rest your body, my guy. If you go and play on Thursday and then play on Friday after flying and all that stuff, if you play both of them in the back-to-back, that is brutal. The other thing is yeah, Utah, like we've mentioned, I have felt like they got to get to at least 91 has been the number that I've put out there for what I expected to be kind of the cut line on it. My predictions from the beginning of the season for each of these teams, and with the games that they have left and kind of the variance based on where they are at this point of the season, currently sees that 92 is actually the number that you're going to have to get to. It likes St. Louis and Calgary to potentially get to 92. And so Utah, again, we're back to, with 11 games remaining, they've got to go 9-2 They've got to go 8-3. Anything short of that, and they're not going to get there. So they got to get incredibly hot. They've got this 3-game road trip. The 2 in Tampa is always a really difficult stretch. They're going to be playing their 3rd game in 4 nights, having just played Tampa, Florida. They'll be in Chicago on Sunday, and Chicago will have a 2 or 3. I know it's a 3-day rest advantage. It looks like for the Blackhawks. So that's a game that your 3rd game in 4 nights, last game of the road trip, the go home game. Plus Chicago's got a 3-day rest advantage. It kind of feels like maybe the Blackhawks are going to take that, which that's a real heartbreaker. That will definitely signify that things are done if that happens. On this road trip, they have to go like 2-1 at worst, and they're playing Tampa and Florida and Chicago. So they got to go steal one of them against Tampa and Florida, and then the Chicago game they absolutely have to take. Then they're home to the Flames. Huge game if they're still in it by that point. And then they're playing the Los Angeles Kings, who are playing such great hockey. The best team in the West, Winnipeg, will then come to Salt Lake City. Seattle, Nashville, at Dallas. Yikes. At Nashville. Reasonable. And then at St. Louis to close it out. So tough road for them to hoe. The dream of a playoffs in the inaugural season is probably over for sure. If you were holding out hope like me, you were hoping they could get there, maybe squeeze their way in down the stretch of the season. But tonight, 5 goals on 14 shots by the Detroit Red Wings. That is, for the 20th time in the history of the NHL, there's been a lot of hockey games. It's only happened 20 times. And boy. And how crazy that it happened twice in a week. Really crazy, actually. But there we are. So, Sparky, good to see you. Sparky, good to see you. The question I have, and we've talked about this a couple times on here, but they've got to find a identity for what they're gonna try to achieve next year. They've got money to go out and collect better players. Yeah, at least the Canucks scored at the last minute again, and then got the shootout winner. It's unbelievable. They're not even the ones we're afraid of. St. Louis, Calgary, everyone's winning. I thought, they're going to all struggle on this that Eastern Seaboard road trip, and Calgary and Calgary and Vancouver have done pretty decent over there. So they need a vet for the kids that wants to be in Utah. Well, we'll see if that exists. That's an interesting one, right? In other professional sports, that's just not been something that they've been able to attract. So there's that. They aren't officially eliminated yet. There's still a chance to get in. Scotty, I love the vibe, my guy. I'll bring my energy up. I'm with you. They're not out yet. That's true. But they do need to play their best 11-game stretch of hockey of the season to find their way in against probably one of the biggest gauntlets to deal with. So it'll be a big struggle to see if they can get there or not. Yeah. So, and then from a theoretical standpoint, if they were to win all games down the stretch, it would be hard to believe they wouldn't get in with 97 points. Technically speaking, Calgary can get to 103, Vancouver can get to 100 points, and St. Louis can get to 101 points. So that's kind of the top end of where they can go and get to it. Yeah. Yep, car wash. They got to win. Good for the young players to go through a play out. Yeah, it is, no doubt. And I think that they might need to get to 95 to get in. Yeah, we were mentioning that a little earlier in the show. It just because other teams are winning and they're winning at a rate that they weren't winning at earlier in the year. Vancouver, Calgary, and St. Louis are all playing their best hockey. And over the last 5 games, Utah's gone 3-2. And they needed this one tonight against Detroit, and they only got 18 shots on net. They didn't do enough. They just didn't do enough offensively to really demand a chance to win tonight. Beyond that, they went on the power play. Like they went on the power. Like I guess it just washed over me now. They were on the power play 5 times. 5 times tonight. Utah Hockey Club had 10 minutes of man advantage tonight and managed 18 shots on goal. That's not great. Not very good. You just got to get a lot more shots. You just have to get a lot more shots. Beyond that, the other goalie came in, and Alex Lyon did a nice job after Mrazek got hurt, and he did a good job of kind of filling in. He let that first shot get by Dylan Gunther, but any goalie would have given up that goal. And then Alex Lyon played great. Outside of that, he played great. Yeah. So there you go. So what a disaster. What a disaster. Oh, is that true? Did Vancouver leave? They lost Elias Pettersson tonight? He's hurt? Ugh. That sucks for them. We don't like seeing great players not on the ice. We like hockey. Man. All right. Well, yeah, I don't know. The offseason will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they elect for more of a sniper type, if they really are in the Mitch Marner thing. I don't know that Mitch Marner is wanting to come to Utah. If hockey players are going to be anything like every other every other athlete, they're probably not going to want to come to Utah. So yeah, you need to look at the power play combinations next game. Yeah, the thing about the oh wow, geez, that sucks. That sucks, Sparky. Yeah, the power play combinations. It's been a conversation. The power play's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. Yeah, it could be Brock Nelson. That's a good idea. Yeah, I think that's a player that would help Utah and kind of what they like, what they do, and it could be tough, a little bit of toughness for the team, willing to be a power forward. You could play him in the bumper spot instead of like Nick Schmaltz, which should in theory be better. What NHLers were born in Utah? Well, Trevor Lewis, I think, is the only one. A great journeyman depth player for the LA Kings all these years. I believe the answer is Trevor Lewis, and that's it. Yeah, we should start figuring out how to put together a pitch video for Brock Nelson. I like the idea. In terms of power play combinations, having gone 1 for 5 tonight, not getting enough shots, too many passes and stuff. Part of this is Detroit. Part of it is what Detroit was doing defensively. You have to give them credit. Yeah, Trevor Lewis, no, we do not want him to be. We don't want him to be here. He's not. That's, yeah. He's a king, and that's great, but that's not. He's a local, but yeah, I don't know that we even want to do like the 1 year, like, come play in your home state for your last year. Like, I don't know. Um, when they do the power play, they really do long shifts. The second unit only gets like the last 30 to 25 seconds of the power play. And so, typically it's been, Schmaltz in the bumper spot. You've got on the right wing, you've got Keller, Sergachev playing quarterback. On the left wing, you got Dylan Gunther. And then down low, in sort of a rover spot, they've been playing Logan Cooley or Barrett Hayton. And I like Cooley better in that spot than Barrett Hayton, but they were producing in both circumstances. But again, the looks that they're getting on the power play, the movement that they're taking on the power play, it just the gravity is so strong towards Dylan Gunther. And, we're treating Dylan Gunther like he's scoring goals like he's Alexander Ovechkin. He's got a good shot, and he's strong on that left wing circle. He's good in that spot, but he ain't, the grade 8. And Ovechkin, he's just I could see why Washington has just fed it and fed it and fed it and fed it over and over and over again for his entire career, because he's just such a master at just ripping that thing into one of the corners. And Gunther's good at it, and maybe his skill at it is going to get better and better. But the amount of weight and gravity that we've put towards getting the puck to Dylan Gunther on the power play has been kind of an interesting thing, given the skill, talent, and abilities that you see from Logan Cooley, that you see from Clayton Keller, from Schmaltz, and Sergachev. Yeah, Michelli's really, this year has been a disaster. Just a disaster for Matias Michelli. Yep. The biggest thing for Matias Michelli there's been a couple things. One is he was on a line last year where it went pretty well. It was Michelli on the left wing with Bukestad in the middle and then Krause on the right. And that group played really well together last year, but they were really bad this year. Bukestad, it looks like it's over for him, right? I don't know what he gives you anymore. And I think Lawson Krause has taken a step backwards this season as well, until more recently he's looked a lot stronger with McBain and Doan. The Michelli problem is the problem. With the addition of Dylan Gunther, it has made it just the case, because Michelli is only a left winger. You can only play him on the left. He does not want to be off wing on the right side. He's a left winger all the way. And so you can't play him in the top two lines consistently. The only time Michelli's stats were okay was when he was playing up in the top two lines because Dylan Gunther was hurt. But you're not going to pull out Nick Schmaltz or Dylan Gunther from the top six in order to play Matias Michelli. So that's where they are. They got to get better goalkeeping. They got to find a way. Veggie, bless his heart, he's been so good for so many of the other months. He's been bad in March. He's just not been good enough in March. The other one, too, tonight, I got to tell you, that first goal, that was on Sean Dursey. That was real bad. That was not a great moment for Sean Dursey. The goals that the Red Wings scored, it was unforced error. We gave kind of like a free run at the net on the first goal. I love the name Elmer, though. How cool is that? Elmer Soderblom. Anyway, Elmer from Vladimir Tarasenko, he got a free look at the net and found a way to get that in. Marco Kasper on that second goal. Again, that was kind of a silly goal. The Austin Watson goal, the crazy tip in from like 25 feet that just, curved down into the net, the empty netter, and then the Tyler Mott goal at the end of the game. That was actually just really well done. really well executed. Probably only happened because of a giant pinch that was, a huge. Actually, I'm looking at it now. Sean Dursey again was way out of position on that. He goes outside of the dots through the neutral zone and just gives a clear look straight into the net. So Sean Dursey's still finding his legs, but he makes a couple pretty huge mistakes every single game. We're waiting for the upside of Sean Dursey at this point. I know he's a good player. He just had a pretty good injury, and not fully back yet. Not fully back yet. And then the Marco Casper goal. Yeah, that was the silly one where it was thrown to the front of the net, and then it went off of Lawson Krause's skate, and then 5-hole on Vejmelka. So again, tough looks, that weird deflection. Maybe I have been a little unfair to Vejmelka, but when it starts to stack up the way it's been stacking up, Michelli should be a third line left wing. The problem is with that one is that the third line is usually your matchup line that you want to go check and potentially change the ice and be defensive against maybe the other team's top line. And so that's what's been really good about playing Krause and McBain and Doan is that you can throw them into that scenario. Definitely needs to be a power play 2 guy, but the question is so now we're looking at a guy that's not actually good enough at scoring because his playmaking is good. His assists and stuff, they're beautiful, but he's not good enough at scoring the puck, and yet he needs to be a top 6 player, but he's not good at finishing. He's not good at shooting. And then the last part of that is kind of the ideal spot for him is to be a second grouping on your power play specialist. It's just hard to figure that out. Okay. Well, I thought that they should have traded him. They did after the Four Nations. He was healthy scratch for a while. And Elliot Friedman was talking about trading him. And I think it makes some sense. When we get our team name, whose jersey you think you're going to get first? Oh, it's such a huge question. I'm never in favor of getting. I personally don't like getting sort of So I would not get a Clayton Keller one just because I feel like it doesn't take character to put on a Clayton Keller jersey. You know what I mean? It's easy to be a Clayton Keller fan. Josh Stone. I love the way. Is there anything that you don't love? Anything you don't love about Josh Stone? He plays great hockey, and he's the sort of guy that it feels like he's going to be in Utah a really long time. He's always going to play hard and forecheck, and it just feels like in the next few seasons, he's going to be kind of the big goal guy. He's not going to score 25 goals in a season, but he will be a 15 goal scorer and 15 to 20 goal scorer maybe. And but maybe he'll be the guy that gets in there and scores the really big goal in the big moments. Kind of feels like he might be that way. So I love Josh Stone, love his game, plays the style of hockey I like. You need guys that forecheck that can do those things. I think probably Josh Stone. I love Logan Cooley. I love the way that kid plays, and so there you go. Those are my top 2. I'd say 91 or 92, but I think I'd do a Josh Stone. What about you guys? What would you do? What player? If you want to get Clayton Keller, reasonable people can disagree. Okay, I want to be clear about this. It's a personal preference thing. They're all on our team. We love all these guys, right? So anyway, if you had to go out and get a Utah Hockey Club jersey. Or, it seems like it's going to be tusked up, right? It's going to be the Mammoth. Seems like. Yeah. Who's your choice, Sparky? Scott, Car Wash, if you guys are here. What player do you got? Are you ready to rep as your guy? So, while I wait for those to come through, I would say this. This season has been fun. Obviously, a success in so many different ways. A success in the state of Utah. I love it. Let's do it. Let's offer sheet Connor Bedard. That would be wild. That would be a wild moment. That's crazy. That would be lots of fun. It seems like, by the way, there's going to be a lot of offer sheets coming up. That's something that there's been like, have you no honor? Do not do offer sheets, please. Like, it's just, for whatever reason, like the old man, the old boys hockey man club that exists out there, it just tends to be that they haven't wanted to do that. But given how well it's gone for St. Louis, having offer sheeted 2 players from Edmonton, it really, really hurt Edmonton. Phil Broberg's been very good for St. Louis this year. And clearly it worked to offer sheet those 2 players. So there you go. Bedard is looking a little miserable in Chicago, and I don't see where it gets better for him. They kind of are in the same problem that like Anaheim was for a really long time, where it felt like they just had too many young guys and were all supposed to develop, but then, they were counting on like Ryan Kessler to bring along or whatever. Strome. Excuse me. Wow. I just went in a time machine. Excuse me. But, it didn't seem like they had a lot of like, long-time NHL guys that could help bring the young guys along and show them like, well, the other issue too is that there's always been such an emphasis. Yeah, Sabre syndrome. I love that, Sabre syndrome. Yeah, because at some point you gotta get some tough dudes, right? You gotta have players like Josh Doan. You've got to have guys that are willing to forecheck. Yeah. Wouldn't get a name on the back unless somebody else was paying for it. Guys can move on easily. One of my old rules that I've had for these things are that you only get Hall of Famers or like guys that are like long time, like career, like huge, like. So if you were like an Arizona Coyotes fan, like getting a Shane Down jersey makes some sense. But yeah. That's right. Can you imagine if you got like an Oliver Ekman-Larsson jersey for the Coyotes, or Logan Cooley, and then they moved? Yeah, the movement of these players it happens a lot quicker. But again, in the NHL, they stay around a little bit longer. Especially, Dylan Guenther's going to be on this team until the Olympic Games come here in 2034. Like that is how long he is under contract. So. We will have him for quite a while. Let me check Puckpedia real quick. Let's just take a quick look. So the estimated cap space going into this offseason, about $8 million. It's not as good as the Blue Jackets, Flames, or Ducks, but it's pretty good. Sharks around $8 million. Predators, $7 million. Anyway. $8 million at Utah. If the Flames and the Blue Jackets can make a move, man, breaking into the West is going to be tough. Blue Jackets are East, obviously, but Ducks and Flames, Blue Jackets, they're all on the close to getting there, and they've all got space to go grab something. So it'll be interesting to see. And let's take a look here. Let's just read the free agents. John Tavares is not coming here. He doesn't fit the timeline anyway. Mitch Marner is an interesting idea, but we have too many of like kind of those guys right now. It feels like we need like a little bit more toughness. Jamie Benn, too old. Brent Burns, too old. Orloff, maybe. I don't know. The blue line's already set. Honestly, that's one of the things that we should talk about, and I'll do that quickly, and then we'll finish this up for tonight. Brock Besser. How about that one? That's a pretty good one. I'm on board for Brock Besser. Yeah. Austin Matthews on Arizona. Okay. Look, there are 3 pairings on the blue line, right? Utah already has under contract for next year Sergachev and Dursey. They have Marino and Kesselring. They've got Mata and Cole. So they've signed those guys. So Sergachev and Dursey, Mata and Marino, Cole, Kesselring. All under contract. And I guess the question is if they were healthy all season long, is that enough on the blue line to get you there? I like all those players. But I don't know that does enough. And beyond that, the top prospects that you have in terms of rookies that you can add to the team and improve the team next year, they are all blue liners. So what are you going to do about Maverick Lamoureux? And what are you going to do about Artem Duda? What are you going to do about Dmitry Shimashev coming over from the KHL? Valimaki. Yeah. Valimaki's under contract for next year as well. Good shout there, Scotty. So it's like, or maybe you look at playing at Ian Cole as the 7th man because he's old. But he's better. He's played better hockey than, Yoso Valimaki this year. So like, yeah. But I mean, it just says to me that they are not doing anything to improve their blue line in the offseason. Like, free agency 100% is about improving, your top 6. And so the question is like, yeah, well, that's an interesting one because, yeah, I wonder if you traded out of your lottery pick, I wonder who you could get. You could look at a team that's kind of out of it, kind of lower. It's like, is Nashville like prepared? Nashville thought with the free agent acquisitions they had coming this year that maybe they would be in business this season. There's something going on that's not quite right in Nashville. Obviously, San Jose and Chicago, they're not interested in really trading their big guys. Seattle, I know, wants to make a push to the playoffs because they're worried about a lot of things up there. And then Anaheim has their young group. They're feeling good about it. So it's like, is Nashville the team that you can go and grab somebody off of? On the other side, I mean, anytime you can do a deal with the Sabres, you should figure that out. It would be great to make a deal with the Sabres. Obviously, Dominic Moore does not want to go get Owen Power. He would rather have Kesselring. But the Buffalo Sabres just tends to be the case that maybe. But I don't know. Like, yeah, could you get your hands on Tage Thompson? Probably not, right? That's probably impossible. But that would be a good one. First rounder and like Nick Schmaltz for like Tage Thompson. Probably would take more. First rounder and like a future first rounder and Schmaltz for Tage. Like, I kind of like it. The Flyers don't really have anything, outside of Mishkov, but you're not going to get him. I mean, you could get. I don't think you could get Travis Konechny beyond that long contract, streaky player, agitator sort of player might be a good thing for this team. But I don't know that Philadelphia is ready to part with Travis Konechny. Pittsburgh doesn't have anything that interests me. The Bruins already traded all their pieces, and they're going to hang on to Pastrnak, no question. So it's interesting. Who's the trade partner? I do not think it's one of these playoff teams, right? So it's an interesting question. We'll have to think about these things. Hard to trade within your own division. Absolutely, that's the flaw. Good point. You can't really trade with Nashville. Matthew Nyes, that would be a fun one. Get an American player out of Toronto. Toronto has a wealth of players. I get the feeling they're going to get a discount on John Tavares. I feel like he's going to try to stay for cheap relative to him. Philly is a trade partner. Okay. Who do you want from Philly? Is it Konechny? And the question is who are you giving up? Schmaltz is an expiring contract next year. You could potentially improve things there. I think that's an improvement, a big improvement, if you go from Schmaltz to Konechny. But I think they'd burn. I think Gritty would. He'd cry. He'd cry and cry and cry. It probably would take more. But yeah, Konechny would be a good one. We would love Travis Konechny in Utah. he's a great agitator style. It'd be fascinating. I think does he have a? He might have a no trade, but anyway. Yeah. Kuzmenko, yeah. The thing with Kuzmenko that's kind of weird is, he's on Vancouver, then he went to Calgary, and then he got traded to Philly, and then now he's on the Kings. I bet he's scoring goals for the Kings. He is a skilled offensive player. That's his resting face. Kuzmenko is a great idea. The question is like on Andrei Kuzmenko, like the thing that the reports out of Calgary were really bad, right? About like what he meant to their locker room and kind of the trouble that his locker, So that's kind of a fascinating thing. I think the weak spots on this team is that they don't generate enough dirty goals. They don't do enough to. When they score, it's usually tidy. Kuzi can't play D. Yeah. I just don't think that there's enough toughness in the group. I don't think they forecheck well enough. When you look at the top teams and what they do well in the playoffs, as that comes along, we're going to watch Florida, and they forecheck like demons. And Clayton Keller doesn't give you that, and Dylan Guenther doesn't give you that. They need players that are built like Barkov. They need a 1C that is fully formed. They have a 1C of the future in Logan Cooley, but they need another center. And, Barrett Hayton to me might be a great third line center, maybe, but like, we keep hoping like Barrett Hayton's like close and stuff like that. Yeah, well, look, we need Carcone, we need like an extremely rich man's Michael Carcone. A wealthy man's Michael Carcone. Yeah. Like, we need grinders. Yeah. Like, honestly, the extremely rich man's Michael Carcone is Travis Konechny, but again, I find it very, 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 very hard to believe that that we're going to be able, get our hands on Travis Konechny. What about the Rat? Brad Marchand. Next coach change will change that. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I think Bill Armstrong is really, really, really attached to making it work with Andre Tourné. I think they want to be part of this process. Bill Armstrong is talking about, the process of what it's going to take in order to win a cup. Sometimes when he says, "Oh, well, this is what we did in St. Louis," but like the St. Louis team that won the cup, that was like one of the craziest, luckiest turnarounds that we've seen. That team was kind of bullcrap, and they got the really, really hot goalie, and Jordan Binnington found a way to get them, a cup. They had a couple really great, players, but they had guys like Shen, though, that would help them, work it out and find a way to grind their way to it. And honestly, when you look at what the Blues have, they a couple of those Blues players and the way they play, that would be pretty good to surround, because they have like the sniper players like Jordan Kyrou, but then you need guys like Thomas who can just go to work and beat up players and do that sort of work. So I guess I would say they need another center. I'd love for the Barrett Hayton project to work, but I think ultimately what we're finding out is that Barrett Hayton, when you are a deep run cup team, guys that are like natural second line centers need to be your third line centers. And so to me, that's like maybe what Barrett Hayton is on like a championship team, is like a third line center, maybe a fourth line. Power forwards, maybe T.J. Ginla develops into that. That would be great. We'll if he's anything like his dad, obviously that would be tremendous. I think that, first of all, he was 17 at the beginning of this year. He's 18 now. He was hurt most of the season, so I think he's got at least one more year. And beyond that, Bill Armstrong is very, very patient. And then the last part is I also think Ryan Smith is very patient. So coaching change and all that stuff may take some while. That's kind of my impression of it. If you disagree, that's fine. Yeah, the structure needs to be better in the next few years, says Sparky. Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think the thing I would love to see, they just don't generate enough goals by force of effort. This is a team. Okay, you want the Brocks. That would be insane if they got Brock Besser and Brock Nelson. In order to have the cap room, they're going to have to make a trade in there. But that would be really great. Beyond that, they have to sign Logan Cooley. And he doesn't hurt the cap for the next year, but he does the following year. And I'm sure they can figure those things out. But this to me, at the top of the off-season chart is to figure out how to sign Logan Cooley to a long-term deal. But yeah, interesting idea. Like it. Brock Besser, Brock Nelson. Couple of wingers though, But we do need guys that bring some grit, a little toughness, some grinding out, and because we have snipers. And Logan Cooley is developing into a really nice two-way player that has his own sort of style. More just like a pure like two-way center who's probably a little undersized. Kind of reminds me of like Jonathan Toews, honestly. That maybe he could become something like that. Yeah. So anyway, we have those things. Building hockey teams is really tough. Here's the other one I just got to tell you. I don't know that we have a true number one like goalie, like full on, like Veggie was never put in this position. He's played pretty well this year, actually quite well this year, and we definitely need to sign a second depth goalie that we feel that we can trust. So there's that. So lots for them to worry about. Obviously, the blue line is locked up. They're going to be improving the forwards. And it'll be really interesting to see what they do as they navigate all those things. So, hey, had lots of fun with you tonight. Thanks for hanging out on a night in which they blow it badly against Detroit. It turned into a nice, fun little conversation here. So the hang was good, fellas. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Appreciate it. Hope each of you is incredibly well, and hope the very best for y'all. We will see you next time Thursday when they play the Tampa Bay Lightning on the road in a really big spot. And maybe we get Jackson Stauber because Veggie needs a break at some point. Maybe not. But, big game. They got to hang in there. All right. We will see you real soon. I hope each of you has a great night. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.